do you have to pay spousal maintenance if you earn over $100,000?
Yeah, okay, so spousal maintenance isn't just determined on the basis of how much someone earns. There's two main parts to a spousal maintenance application: the capacity of the person paying to pay and the need of the person receiving the payment for that money. So there needs to be a surplus in how much the payer has that they don't need to use to pay for mortgage, child support, car loan repayments, their own groceries, potentially they're paying rent as well as the mortgage. So that all comes out of their income. And then if there's a surplus left, then there's a potential for spousal maintenance to be paid. But the receiving party has to show that they have a need for money, and so that they can't meet their reasonable expenses from any income that they do have, and so they have this need that corresponds, at least in some part, with the capacity of the payer. So it's pretty unusual to see a spousal maintenance order made where the paying party is earning under $100,000, because usually if the family income is at that level, it's being used for everything.
Cost of living is so high.
Exactly, every cent is being spent.
Yeah.
But over 100,000, you may start seeing like money that was allocated for an annual holiday, which isn't really necessary for the paying party to use in their daily expenditure. So that can be earmarked for to counter the need of the receiving party.
I suppose one of the things to take into account though is if I suppose you are potentially going to be the payer, so the high income earner, and have moved out of the home, then you may have rental obligations as well as a mortgage repayment. And so I think there can be an illusion sometimes that just because it's a high income earner, there's going to be an obligation to pay maintenance, but depends on really what the expenses is.
Yeah, that's
and the capacity to pay. Yeah, it's not just, as you said, for mortgage or joint expenses. They have also their reasonable expenses as well, which can go as far as what they were spending during the relationship too. But yes, there needs to be a sort of forensic analysis of what the expenses are, what the receipts say. It does require sort of a heavy look into whether it's
that's right, and even what the income is, what's the net income, and might be difficult to ascertain if it's being paid as distributions through a trust, and maybe those distributions have significantly reduced post separation, so there's less income there to play with. And so going back to see, okay, what is the actual capacity of that person to pay? It's not just necessarily their income, it's their actual capacity, how much money is the business receiving, and
what's it paying for as well. I suppose there is the opportunity to file for an urgent application where you might not need to go as far as doing all that detailed analysis, if there really is a need for maintenance for yourself, and the other person has a high or valuable income. The court will listen to that sort of application with limited evidence and make a sort of very basic interim order.
But maybe a small amount.
Very small amount.
Hoping to receive ultimately, but just so you can, it's really survival.
Survival, yeah.